The devil is a liar, and twice on Sundays, I have had to encounter some form of bullying pretty much my entire life. Basically, all of my life, I had to fight. And so this is nothing new to me. It's just the fact that, again, it never really crossed my mind that I would encounter bullying in the workplace. So I was a little slow in comprehending that was what was happening. Oh, but when I woke up, hi, it's Nicole, and welcome to my channel where we get vocal about workplace bullying, harassment, intimidation, and all actions in between. Now, the last video I shared with you guys the first steps I took in getting Cruella to stop bothering me. And I sent her an email in which I outlined everything that I have experienced with her. In return, she asked or requested to speak with me. Today, I'm going to reveal the second step that I took, which was simply standing up for myself. Up until this point, I have been kind of silent, dismissing actions and behaviors of Cruella because I either thought I can handle it or I just didn't think it was something I really needed to give attention to because I really liked my job. I may not have liked who I was working for or the actions of the person I was working for. I wanted to stay focused on doing a job that I loved, that I went and got an education in to be able to fulfill my life's purpose. But it definitely came to a point where I needed to use my voice and activate my superpower. You guys already know I am the type of person to press record. So since Cruella wanted to talk, I accepted, and we are going to break down that call. This video is going to be a little bit different because I will be reacting to Cruella and I's discussion. So let's get into it.
Hey, Nicole, how are you?
I'm good.
Is this a good time still?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, you said a lot in the email, so I don't know what you wanted to start with. You wanna start?
I am not surprised that Cruella wanted me to start first. I think it was one of those things where she wanted to see where I was going to go with it. And I wasn't going to go far, mainly because I said what I said in the email. So I am just going to give her a starting point and pretty much just let her go from there. I can, which can lead up to the actual email. So before I could even address what I wanted to, whether or not I wanted to stay, I had to sit with the question of if I was unhappy. And, you know, from that, I had to kind of determine, am I unhappy or am somebody else's thoughts being transposed onto me as if they are my feelings? Okay, so I want to address two things. One, you can definitely hear the anxiety in my voice. If you go back to the call that I had with Ursula, you hear the same tone. This is not my forte. Me being in moments like this is not something that I can maneuver well emotionally without either my voice cracking or me doing exactly what I'm doing right now with all these and just being a little bit uneasy. However, I understood what needed to happen. I understood that I needed to stand up for myself, and this call was that opportunity to do that. So I apologize in advance if this is coming across as a little jittery. My confidence wasn't really where it needed to be because this is just not who I am with having to confront someone in this manner. Secondly, I want to clarify that there is a difference between being unhappy with the way someone is treating you and then being unhappy overall with your job. And I loved what I did. I totally despised my encounters that I was having in the office. However, I am a very emotionally mature and responsible person. My whole premise was to always be professional, always be cordial, even when other people are making it hard for me, because I was taught ignorance is on the other person, has absolutely nothing to do with me. I do not allow the ignorant follies of others to impact how I carry and conduct myself.
Then I had to...
Say that again. Say that. I didn't hear that.
I had to come to terms with if me being unhappy were my actual thoughts or someone else's thoughts put onto me as if that's the way that I'm feeling. Then I had to sit with what would make somebody think that I'm unhappy. Like, what is it that I'm doing, that I'm saying? Because the number of times that we have talked, which would have been about 3 times in 3 months, I'm at this point, I'm confused that if I'm either giving you the response that you're looking for or the answers that you need. I'm just kind of confused, which is where that list came from.
In my 38 years, I have come to the conclusion that when someone asks you something multiple times, they are either looking for an answer or a response, and you're not actually giving them what they want or what they need from that. What Cruella is doing is trying to establish or project onto me, because I think ultimately what she wants me to do is quit. So she's trying to say that I'm unhappy with my job, and I'm unhappy through my own thoughts and my actions, which couldn't be further from the truth, but that is what she's trying to do. But you're asking me that again. I don't know what else to give you at this point. You're asking me several times. Honestly, the first time didn't work. And this wasn't, honesty on something off of the deep end, right? It was in terms of me addressing the fact that I'm not going to say attention deficit disorder, because I do not have that. However, I do struggle with auditory discussions that tend to last for an extended period of time. So we are in staff meetings, and those staff meetings are not engaging, nor are they pertaining to what it is that I need to know and do. So on top of that, we're in a room that's probably 15 by 5 feet. Very, it's long, but it's narrow, and there's no windows. So I'm struggling to just stay focused mentally. However, for whatever reason, she took that personally, along with some other things, but that is just an example that I wanted to share in terms of how that simple, what are your challenges, and me addressing that as a challenge became problematic.
Because everything that I've gathered hasn't been about my actual performance, but in response to particular situations outside of my actual performance.
Okay. So what's helpful for me today, we can talk about not quite sure how we got here with this whole dialogue via email today.
I will admit, she probably was confused and taken aback by that email. Now, remember in my last video, I shared with you guys that my first step was to get everything documented. Remember, there was no HR. So everything up to this point is giving my word against hers, verbally. So I needed to make sure that I covered myself and I get things put in writing. The moment she told me to go home and think about whether or not I wanted to work for the organization, and you can come to your own conclusion what that comment means when your superior, your boss, tells you to go home and think about your place at an organization, what that means. And so when I had to give a response to that, I decided to give a response to that in email, but I also decided to utilize that moment to address all of my experiences with her. I'm sure it also took her off guard, because up to this point, I have been quiet. Things have been happening, things have been said, and I have not confronted it. I have not addressed it. I just kind of was just moving past it because I didn't want the drama. I didn't want the backlash. However, I still found myself to be in uncomfortable and compromising situations because I was her target.
You sent me a message this morning and said, hey, I thought about it. I'm good. I want to stay, want to do a good job. And by the way, you informed me that you were prepared to come to the board meeting. I responded saying, hey, thanks for the email. I've already made a decision about the board meeting. So if you're good, hopefully you're good with that decision. And then...
Okay. Again, I shared this last video. I didn't care about that board meeting. This was a way for me to be able to address everything. The thing is, I knew she was going to respond like that. Why? Because now I'm a liability. We are going through some things. The last thing you want is Nicole to be in front of your board, for them to ask me any questions, and for me to be honest about that. She didn't have the best rapport with the board. So I was a liability to be put in front of the board with she and I on such bad terms. I knew this already. But again, I am taking my power back, and I am going to utilize everything that I need to turn this situation around.
This will be a work in progress. I mean, you just can't, if you don't even know, which is what you're telling me, you don't even know why I am asking you a question about how you're feeling. And I'm getting questions from other people in the office around the energy in the office. You've mentioned the energy in the office. Other people mentioned the energy in the office. And now the questions around energy in the office are around you. And so that was why I had the conversation.
That's gaslighting. That is pure gaslighting. So she's saying that others have acknowledged that the aura and the energy is off. It's not where it needs to be. Now she's trying to say that they're questioning it in terms of me. That is false. She is trying to, in my opinion, in this moment, not only gaslight me, but throw things at the wall and see what sticks in terms of getting a reaction out of me. But remember, I told you guys, in which I put in writing, that she told me it was her mentor and advisor who told her to ask me, because Cruella was doing a lot to appease me, and the advisor is like, you're doing too much for this one person, like you can't just replace them. So now it's turned into others have questioned, and the questions that they have are pertaining to me.
You know, I know you get really fixated. I get the impression you're getting pretty fixated now on the words. I use the words. You didn't seem to be happy because you don't seem to be happy. And you started by telling me you didn't like the energy in the office, and we needed to do more team building. And you started these conversations with me.
I did not start those conversations. Let's be clear. Nicole did not initiate any conversations in terms of team building or any exercises. She asked me what I thought, and I gave a response on how we could change it. And remember, this is on the heels of my former partner resigning. So things were toxic between them, which just made it all uncomfortable. At this point, we had already been planning to do an escape room, right? As a team building exercise. But who wants to be locked in a room with Cruella the way that she was behaving? No one. However, I became the sacrificial lamb to have to go to her and tell her that the rest of the team didn't want to do it.
And then I made efforts to do more things. It started around time, and then we went into doing more things, and I made efforts, and we agreed to team building and doing more lunch and getting to know each other better. All of that really was generated from you saying that, those things would be nice.
Now, what was beeped out is that she mentioned 2 other people. So she's admitting that I'm not the only one who brought it up. But I am the only one having to come before her and continuously share my likes and dislikes and why I want to stay at the organization, why I don't. Like, she's only doing that to me. And it came to a point where it was obvious that I'm the only one she's doing that to.
So that's how I got there. But right now, these conversations are draining for me. They are draining the energy from me being productive on the things that are really, really demanding. And I just thought I'd send an email today and tell you where I was. And then it generated a whole bunch of other stuff again, rehashing the past and how you felt and what about this and you said that.
So here's the thing. It's draining. I'm sure it is, because you're the one who keeps approaching me, first of all. Second of all, I'm rehashing the past, meaning I listed out all of the experiences and now she has to actually face what it is that I said. So miss me with that one.
Well, we're not moving forward yet. And I didn't expect us to move forward right away. I expected to take a little time. That was part of what my email was like. You say you're fine, but maybe you're not fine. And this email, the second email, suggests that maybe you're not fine. And so, no, I haven't talked to you about your performance because it was really about what was happening in the office.
That's gaslighting again. So now she's saying that my second email is implying that I'm not happy. My second email is outlining what I have experienced. Again, coming off of the heels of me having to go home and think about whether or not I wanted to stay at the organization, which I informed her that I did. Now, here's the thing. For me, it's giving, if you want to fire me, fire me. But I'm not going to give you the power of me walking away.
And the constant pushback. And maybe I didn't feel like you were, sometimes you would act like you were fine with me, and other times you would act like you weren't fine with me.
I don't even know what that means. That sometimes I act like I was fine with her, and then sometimes I didn't act like I was fine with her. Why are we taking this personally? Like, lady, listen, I'm there to do a job. If you want to come and show your tail, that's on you. Like, I don't have to engage in conflict. I do not have to engage in ignorance. I do not have to engage with someone who's obviously trying to make me a target of their bad day or whatever the case may be. I think that is a telling comment to say, because I feel like that is what she wanted. She wanted me to like her. And I don't have to. I only have to respect her. And that's the only thing that I did. I didn't like her, but I wasn't stumping around the office beating on my chest about it either. I just set up boundaries so that I only had to interact with her when it came to me doing my job. Any other personal matters, I checked that at the door because I was not interested. But it seemed like the more that I set those boundaries and I said, nah, I'm not doing that with you, I feel like it upset her and infuriated her even more. I really do think her saying that is her problem.
And I was trying to understand it. But it's hard to work with people that you feel like there's a disconnect.
Okay, so here. The job that I do, the job that I did, clarify, the job that I did required me to be in the office on Mondays because Mondays was the days that we had our weekly meetings. All the other days I was at a school. So my interactions with her were already limited. I only had that one day really to have to interact with her. The summers were extremely difficult because there was no school, so I had to interact with her a little bit more. So I don't know where she's trying to go with this other than to say, again, Gaslighting.
So I asked you about it, and I kept asking you about it, trying to see, because I felt like you weren't happy, and maybe, but I wasn't the only one that felt like you weren't happy.
Now, there's a difference between someone coming to you and saying, this person looks unhappy, right? There's another thing for Cruella to go and motivate people to give a certain response. And I'm just going to put it out there. She's talking about Ursula. Again, she is Ursula's mentor in terms of preparing her to take over. So she has Ursula in her back pocket. I don't really care about Ursula agreeing or not with Cruella. But when you talk about any other person in the office, what she's saying is a lie. She can motivate and convince Ursula to go along with that theory. And Ursula would have been like, yeah, I don't think she's happy either. Get out of here.
I don't, it's not helpful. I'm not going to rehash what everybody said. I've told you some of the things that were said, and some of the impressions that people had as a result of certain things. Because there are office norms, and you bucked some of the office norms.
Two things. What office norms did I break? What I think she's implying is I am not falling in line with what it is that she wants me to do.
So, we could have a more lengthy conversation about it. I did have a few questions about how fast was getting up and running, but I assumed you would work those out because you did such a great job with, and you seem to be, getting that program moving along. You were pushing, let me say one thing I thought you were pushing back on me about a job description for a job that you came up with.
So you see she shifted and pivoted. She didn't get a response from what she said. Now it's giving, she wants to try to come down on me about her interpretation of pushback regarding the job description. Now, mind you, my former coworker resigned. She was the director of one of the programs I wrote to get funded. So I was already there running one program. She came in to facilitate a new program that I had written up. She resigned. Ursula asked me to move over to hers, abandoning what I was doing, and for a 22-year-old, I think at the time, 23-year-old at the time, to take over for my program. When I went to the young lady, I'm like, does that work for you? And she's like, no. She was scared out of her mind. Why? Because she's never ran a program. Just because you can teach doesn't mean that you can actually plan and implement a program. So I suggested that I will be the director of everything she can learn by being my assistant. However, when you have a boss that's doing what Cruella was doing, I wanted a job description in writing so there is clear understanding that I am doing the job that I was set out to do. Now, what infuriated her is that she wasn't able to do that. So she wanted me to do it. She wanted me to write my own job description because she was incapable to do so. Meaning she didn't have the knowledge and capabilities to write up a program that she had at that point been the managing in terms of the organization for 2 years. That pissed her off, me asking.
You decided you wanted to merge the youth arts programs. So what I'm used to when somebody comes to me with an idea is them doing some of the work.
But to clarify, if they had HR would do it, right? HR will be the one to say, you're getting promoted. These are now your new guidelines for the job that you're being promoted for. even if I came up with it. So even if we had to sit down and write it together, it's not just based off of I don't run that organization. I'm in charge of these 2 programs. I shouldn't be writing not Nan job description. That is not on me. However, she's trying to imply that it is. And again, if the organization had proper protocol, they had themselves an HR person, none of this would be, up for discussion anyway.
Because it was easier for me for those to be 2 separate roles. And, you write about, I asked you for the job description on this day.
Correct. So I had to drop the date that I asked her for it to specify the pushback that I got from it, because she was really in her feelings that I had actually asked for that she ended up having Ursula do it. I don't think Ursula know that she did it, but it didn't come out quite right. She wrote it up as a job posting and not a job description. But again, we've already established Ursula's capabilities.
That kind of stuff. That kind of stuff I'm not used to. People sort of throwing their weight around and pushing me around. And so that's what you want. These are the things you expect. You expect certain things and you have every right to.
She's saying that I'm throwing my weight around. I think how that is to be interpreted as that's what she does. And so, listen. Cruella came in and gave herself the title of president and CEO. How she managed to do that and it's only been executive directors, that should tell you a lot. A lot about the board that they allowed it, but then secondly about the fact that she's all about titles. And so I'm not interested in her title. I'm interested in how she carries herself as a human being. Her saying to me that I'm throwing my weight around is her way of projecting and gaslighting. Because me asking for a job description has nothing to do with me throwing my weight around. What she's saying is she should be the only one to be able to throw their weight around.
Expect those things. But if I can't provide them, then maybe it's not best for you to work for me.
And that's fine. If that's how she feels, then ma'am, cut ties. You know what I mean? Like, she genuinely wants me to resign, like the last person did. I'm not giving her that. I don't deserve to have to resign from a job that I love because of her. No.
If you don't like how I do things, I've tried to explain to you all the demands that I have, and you got job descriptions for both jobs. You know the old job. I gave you the job description for the new job. You watch the person do the former job. You said you wanted to do some things differently, and I said, sure, have at it. So I felt like I gave you some creative license, and then you wanted to come back and pinpoint me and go,
you gave me creative license? You gave me creative license to do a job that I was hired to do? Huh?
Tell me everything I'm supposed to do and what your expectations are for me.
It is not about me having expectations of her per se. Meaning, why would I not expect respect? Why would I not demand respect? Now, again, I was kind of quiet, didn't really necessarily say much verbally. But outside of that, I was saying a whole lot by just the way that I carried myself. The way that I walk into a room says I shall be respected. And that requirement is not going to fall down by the wayside because someone feels like they're the president and CEO of an organization and they have the right to be disrespectful to people. I'm not enslaved to anyone. For folk to get into a place of leadership and high executive levels to beat on the people under them, that's cowardly. For her to want to come to the organization to show us who's boss, ma'am, no, it doesn't work for me. It may work for other people. It does not work for me.
And now you're essentially saying, if you don't have any issues with my performance, then why are you talking to me about all this other stuff?
Exactly.
Okay, pause. I am sitting here editing this video and it's giving 1 hour long. I am not going to do that to any of you, so we are going to split this up into 2 parts. Make sure to tune in next Sunday for the second half because it is a conclusion you will not expect. I want to thank each of you for watching and tuning in with me each week. Above all, I want to say, if no one told you today, let me be the one to mention it. I love you. Bye.